Great. So let's just jump right in. Why do you believe that returning citizens should have their right to vote restored around the country?
Well, returning citizens are just that. They're citizens. That means they are part of our country. They live here, they work here, they pay taxes here, and they're affected by the laws that our representatives write. And that means that they should have a stake and they should have a say in what happens in our democracy. And in nearly every state in the country, people with felony convictions are allowed to have their votes reinstated after they've done their time. But in a few states, uh, that wasn't the case. Florida was the largest one, uh, and we worked together with the Florida Rights Restoration Coalition and many others in Florida to help pass Amendment 4 with an overwhelming majority of Floridians voting for it. The vote required a supermajority of 60%. We got nearly 2/3 of the state of Florida, which is always a swing state, always pretty evenly divided between the left and the right. We got 2/3 of the state to vote for returning citizens to have their rights restored. And we were so grateful, so happy that the people of Florida decided to do that. However, their representatives in the legislature felt threatened by the idea that more people could vote. And they decided to put some rules in place that basically made it so that these returning citizens had to pay to vote. Many of them can't afford the fines and fees that the state has charged them. And essentially, it's a modern day poll tax requiring them to spend money so that they could vote and use their constitutional right to vote. Uh, we believe it's not fair. And so we've been working together with some of our friends all around the country and within Florida to help pay these fees and fines to restore voting rights to thousands of Floridians.
Wonderful. And I understand that the Florida Rights Restoration Coalition has been raising the funds and hit the milestone of 20 million funds to pay off these fines for former felons. What impact do you believe that it would have on the 2020 election if all returning citizens had the right to vote?
Well, let's remember the year 2000, uh, Al Gore versus George W. Bush. That election was decided by a few hundred votes. And every vote matters, particularly in states that are so evenly divided. And we believe that maximum democracy is better for our country. We believe that if the people have their say in choosing their leaders, that governance will be better and be more responsive and more accountable to the people. We don't know how these returning citizens are going to vote. Some of them are clearly going to vote for the right. Some of them are clearly going to vote for the left. We don't know how this is going to shake out, but we believe that more democracy is better. It's going to give us a better result, better governance, and make us more accountable. So that's why we're focused so intently on expanding voting rights all around the country, and particularly in Florida, where every single vote is going to make a difference.
And Michael Bloomberg has joined the announcement in the initiative. He donated 16 million that he fundraised. You are no stranger to this work, of course. Why is it so important to put funding and celebrity power behind this ask and this demand that returning citizens can vote?
Well, we're using all the tools we have. A lot of the people involved in this are not celebrities. People like Desmond Meade, who is a returning citizen himself and has led the Florida Rights Restoration Coalition as an organizer, as a motivator, as an inspiring voice. So people like him, people who are working on the ground, actual returning citizens who are impacted by this law, they're all working for it. And then, for folks that have the resources like Michael Bloomberg, like myself, like LeBron James, and many others, we're doing what we can to help as well. And I think it's all hands on deck. We have our democracy is on the ballot this year, and we want to make sure as many people can have their voices heard as possible.
And I think it's fitting that you say our democracy is on the ballot For folks who are new to this world
Mhm.
of felony disenfranchisement, what's at stake if people don't earn this right that they've been given?
Well, we've already seen the challenges our democracy is facing right now. There's so many kind of anti-democratic uh, elements of our government right now. The electoral college, the composition of the Senate, the fact that California and Wyoming get the same amount of senators. All these things are challenges for our democracy. But the only way we can make changes, the only way that we can have a government that's more responsive to the people is that we engage as many citizens as possible in organizing, voting, holding our leaders accountable. All these things matter. And so we want as many people to be able to exercise their rights to vote, exercise their rights to have a say in our democracy as possible.
And you launched Free America in 2015. For those unfamiliar, can you just speak to what it is, why you launched it, and what it looks like now, 5 years later?
Well, we launched Free America back in 2015, starting out really as uh, people who were just trying to learn. We wanted to listen and learn from experts, from organizers, from activists, from people who were currently incarcerated, formerly incarcerated, people who work as district attorneys and other players in the system. We wanted to learn, but the end goal was always to raise the level of this conversation so that more people were thinking about the fact that we were the most incarcerated country in the world and think about solutions to that issue and how we could make this nation more free, more just, more loving. So we started by listening, we started by learning, and then we started to engage in activism. We fought for certain laws to be passed. We fought for certain candidates to be elected. We did all kinds of things to raise awareness about this issue around the country and do really tangible things to make a difference. And one of those things, of course, was joining with the Florida Rights Restoration Coalition to pass Amendment 4. Amendment 4 enabled over 1 million people to have their voting rights restored. And what we're trying to fight now is the backlash to that from the state legislature, where they try to roll back those rights that we fought so hard to win for those over 1 million Floridians.
And you've spoken to this, and I think it's no secret that so much effort and energy and funding has gone into restoring rights in Florida. But do you think that one state is
Mhm.
enough? What's your hope in the long term?
We have to remember that Florida was one of only a few states in America that had a lifetime ban on voting rights for formerly convicted felons. So it was really important to focus on Florida because it was by far the largest state that had this restriction. Most states, after you do your time and your sentence is served, you can go back to voting. Florida was one of the few that didn't make that possible, and it was by far the largest state that didn't make that possible. So that was a clear priority for us to focus on Florida. And then, of course, the fact that it's such an important swing state in so many presidential elections and in Senate elections and all kinds of elections, it was important that we focus on Florida as a priority. But it's clear that this is something that we care about all around the country. We've tried to do things all around the country to restore rights. In California right now, we're saying we should even expand voting rights to people who are on parole. In general, we believe that expanding voting rights is always going to be a good thing. We don't know how folks are going to vote, but we believe that if they're citizens of this country, they are required to pay taxes, they're part of our communities, they should have a say in how our communities, our states, our nations are run.
And that's powerful because it's as if you're emphasizing this is a nonpartisan issue. We don't know how people are going to vote. It just matters that they do.
And it's clear that it was not it was at least bipartisan or nonpartisan in Florida because we needed a super majority to pass this law in Florida. And if anyone was paying attention to the gubernatorial election or the Senate election, it was exactly even in both of those states. It was like a 51-49 result, decided by a few thousand votes for both of those elections. But the Amendment 4 vote was a landslide. We had to get 60%, and we got 64. So it's clear that people of all parties believe in redemption. They believe in the idea that once you've served your sentence, that you should not continue to be punished for the rest of your life, that you should be integrated back into your community, and you should have a say in how your community is run. And that's what democracy is all about. We, the people, are affected by the laws and by the actions of our government, and so we should have a say in how those laws are made and who represents us.
And wrapping up, how do you hope historians will look back on this moment, whether we're talking about Breonna Taylor or more widely, if we're talking about restoring the rights of returning citizens? How do you hope the history books will look back?
Well, this has been an extremely historic and challenging year for the United States of America. We've had COVID-19, we've had the killings of Breonna Taylor, George Floyd, and several others that have aroused so much anger among activists who are calling to make sure that Black lives truly do matter in this country. We've seen so much happen, and at the same time, we're having an historic election where our democracy is on the line, where we have a wannabe authoritarian running for reelection, and someone who's trying to destroy freedom of the press, trying to suppress voting in any way possible, trying to destroy our democracy. All of this is on the line. And my hope, my most optimistic faith is that America is going to come together and make a resounding statement with this election that we do believe in democracy, that we do want our country to go in a different direction, that we do want a country that's safer and more loving for everyone. Hopefully, the historians will write the story of 2020 as a moment when we were challenged in so many ways, but we rose to the challenge and did something to change the direction of this country.